true alpha male, the living legend of hair loss, and your personal hairline hero. We've got work to do. I made a video that I received a comment for. The video I'm referring to is hair loss question. Do you have an underlying problem? And the whole point of the video was me pointing out that typically if a guy is so obsessed over his looks and his fear of hair loss, he's got an underlying psychological wound that he never got dealt with, or he's yet to get one, which means he doesn't know how to sort out some kind of superficial problem, because it's not a problem. It's not a disease like hair loss. So here's a comment from An Hong. He says, quote, I don't see any difference between your hairline now compared to a few years back. Are you using Propecia or any treatment? End quote. And you all know the answer to that. No, I'm not a Peter Pan. What is a Peter Pan? A Peter Pan is someone over the age of 30 who is actively trying to prevent or stop their hair loss. And in doing so, even if they succeed, the side effect is they also hinder themselves from maturing because they're in their 30s now or older, still focused on their looks to the degree that they think the way they gain respect from someone is by looking youthful despite not being so young anymore. They think that they're not actually judged on their internal confidence, but instead on superficial confidence. So no, to answer your question, I do not use Propecia. I have not had a hair transplant. I do not put onion juice on my scalp. Whatever the crazy thing is that people are doing on the internet, no, none of the above. I'm not a Peter Pan. I'm a true alpha male. I'm a confident man who knows that people definitely judge me in real life, but not on my hair. No one cares about my hair. People care about me, but they don't care about my hair. People care about you, but they don't care about your hair. That's truth. That's the wisdom of a 39-year-old man who is too confident to get a hair transplant or take Propecia. So the comment right there got its own comments from, the person asking me, am I using anything? Blake, who's a newcomer, he's a neutral. Quote, he's using Propecia, and he admitted it in a video a few years back, but he has since deleted the video because this whole fake alpha male persona where he claims to be against hair transplants and Propecia, he is a hypocrite, and it's pretty likely that he's had a hair transplant too, end quote. Which, it's funny, I do not remember making a video admitting that I use Propecia. Now granted, I did definitely for a year and a half make videos about rosemary oil to prove that it doesn't work, and ultimately a lot of my subscribers I was able to get because of those videos. I used it as a marketing tool to get people to watch and find out if it would work. And then when people realized it didn't work like I knew it didn't, then now people are hooked on my channel. So I did do that. But as far as me admitting though that I ever cared about hair loss, I think I've mentioned it in passing that when I was in college, I think it was 2021, me and my roommate, he and I were born the same week, he told me in recent years that he has taken Propecia, and his hairline is like barely a 2. But he and I were born the same week in '81. But we had this conversation in our dorm, like age 20 in college. And I remember having a conversation with him that I would get a hair transplant when I was in my 30s and married and living in the suburbs, that I didn't want to be the balding guy because now you can do something about it. And that was very much my identity for like a year or two. But I also hadn't had any thinning on top, and I was maybe a Norwood 1.5 at the time. And then I'd stopped thinking about it. But what I was most insecure about back then was my height, being 5'9". I'm the same height as Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, Mark Ruffalo, that plays Hulk. There's plenty of people that height. It's a very common height for male actors. It bothered me back then. Now, I don't care that most men are slightly taller than me. I don't care. What does that have to do with anything? But I'm also a grown man, and I know that I'm not being judged on my physical appearance. I'm being judged on my ability to help other people sort out their own problems while being confident in myself, etc. So then Respectable Person left a comment on that other one now, where he's negating this conspiracy that I got a hair transplant. And I actually do respect Respectable Person's comment on this one. Quote, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on Propecia, considering how he used rosemary oil, and he admitted being upset over hair loss in the past. Which again, being upset in the past meant a brief time when I was in college, I was aware of it. I don't know that I was really upset. I was more upset that I, at that point in my life, realized I wasn't going to be growing any taller because I was around 20, and typically you're not going to grow taller after that. It bothered me at the time, a long time ago, but now we're talking about something that happened nearly 20 years ago because I'm 39. So, I mean, if we want to go back to what worried me 2 decades ago, then we could have a whole other list of stuff that's now completely irrelevant in my life. But here we go. Respectable person. But there's no way he had a hair transplant because the top hair is too thin, and judging by his donor zone and remaining hair, any competent doctor could have easily given him a Norwood 1. End quote. See, I love that. That's undeniable. It's amazing we haven't talked more about that. But my hair is thinner on top, so why in the world would I pay for a hair transplant and not have it to be thicker up here? It should be, this thick up here. But that's a good way to know, I guess, if someone got a hair transplant, like a Norwood 3 situation, where they have a Norwood 3, but then it's still thick. Now, I don't know who's got a hair transplant or not, but a theory, maybe Tom Hanks did. Maybe he got a hair transplant. He's a Norwood 3 in my opinion, but his hair seems to be consistently thick all around and not thinning on top. Could be. Of course, it all comes down to this. It all comes down to being age 35, which is something I briefly mentioned in another video about this concept. It's funny when people like that want me to take Propecia. They want me to save their hair loss. These are the Peter Pans out there, They want me to stop aging mentally and socially along with physically like them, but I refuse. I'm like, nope, I'm going to grow up. If that means I look older, cool. But I'm going to mature. I'm going to continue how life actually works. I don't want to be held back with a boy's brain when I'm nearly 40 years old. But here's what's funny. For all the people who are begging me, please get a hair transplant, please take Propecia, you have a good donor zone, it's not too late, all that stuff. It's all pointless. Why? Fundamentally why? Besides for the fact I don't care. Here's the main reason none of it matters. I'm over the age of 35. How many men in your life do you know that had a perfect head of hair until they were 35 and then suddenly went bald? I can't think of one person, but I can definitely think of men under the age of 35 who started showing signs of balding. And by the time they were 35, had pretty much were largely, for the most part, bald. But not after 35. Most of your hair loss occurs before age 35. And it's funny, I don't know why we don't talk more about this, but I also have what I call the hair loss prophets of doom. And what they do, you're going to be completely bald by the time and I have this one person, and for years, he's been watching me because I've started, next month makes 5 years, I've been doing these videos, and this whole time he's saying you're going to be completely bald by the time you're 40. You're going to be Norwood 4 by the time you're 40. And now I'm less than a year from that. And let's face it, what we know about hair loss, it's not likely that you just immediately overnight go bald or within a year or two go bald unless you're younger. That's why there's such panic and desperation from younger viewers, the beta boys out there who still haven't figured out that you're actually better off to be completely bald on top by 20, because then that's how you actually get attractive women to be interested in you, because you're basing your identity and confidence on yourself outside of your appearance, and that is very attractive. So it's actually a blessing in that regard. But if you're fearing it, even whether it happens or not, then you've already lost the whole thing. But yeah, it's very fundamental. It's very fundamental, and I need to start talking about this more often. I'm over the age of 35. I'm not likely going to lose my hair at this point. If I do, that's totally cool. But it's not likely. And yeah, I appreciate respectable person pointing out there's no way I had a hair transplant. It's too thin on top. And it's too thick on the sides. It'd be obvious. It'd be obvious because I'd have thicker hair up here. So no, I mean, it's, if anything, and I don't know if he's had a hair transplant, another name I'm gonna hurl out there, Chris Pratt. He's a year older than me. hairline is actually pretty similar to me. And he may have had a hair transplant based on, but he's kind of got a hairline like mine, where just kind of, he's got this hairstyle that he keeps. It's just kind of vague. Unless he's showing someone his hairline, it just kind of kept vague. So maybe he got one, maybe not. But pretty much he was already past the age of 35 or 35 when people really started paying attention to his hair anyway. So it could just be Saved by the Bell situation. He's saved by the bell because he turned 35 and it was locked in. Your comments, your truth belongs right here.